Hello and welcome to another Scraps and Ink video, and this is going to be my first card series ever, and it's going to be my first Christmas card series. I'm showcasing this Pretty Poppies stamp set by Concord and 9th. I love poppies and I love this stamp set, so I was really excited at the idea of making a Christmas card with it. So I actually ended up stamping it 3 times to get this nice crisp black lines, and I'm going to be alcohol coloring it later. I'm going to be coloring it with alcohol markers later. So I put it off to the side to dry, and I pulled out a separate card base, and this one's actually Nina 110 pound paper. I wanted a more sturdy card base because of what I'm actually going to be doing with it later. I originally planned on blocking off this top portion of the paper, ink blending some Gina K. I believe this one's her Red Hot, and some Fired Brick Distress ink. By the way, these two blend beautifully. If you've never blended Gina K with Distress inks, I recommend it. They are partners in crime. So I wipe off my surface and spray some water on it because I really wanted that ink to react and give it kind of a splotchy, worn look in the background. Just a little bit of texture, not too much. I left this part in here because you just need to know crafting is messy. This is my first take on the card. I didn't make any previous cards, and I messed up my card base. I'll probably use the scraps for later in a different project or to stamp something else. But I ended up cutting off the ink blending portion and gluing it to a brand new card base. So the new card base is again 110 pound Nina Classic Crust Solar White. And I'm adhering some Cricut glitter paper. I love this. It doesn't shed, it doesn't smell. Obviously it's made by Cricut, so it's perfect for cutting. So it's just what I had on hand. I really wanted to give it a different shade because the poppies are going to be red. And so I used a little bit of gold to break up the color. So here I'm going to show off one petal of how I colored the poppy. And I used a combination of my Artist's Loft alcohol markers as well as some Copic sketch markers. And I have a really bad habit of holding the lid, so I tried to remind myself to put the cap down on the table so you can see the numbers. And I just went in with my lightest color and then shaded it in with some dark colors, and then I ended up fussy cutting it right up to the line. So here's my sad little poppy. I accidentally cut the bulb off, and that made me so sad. But again, crafting is messy and it's still salvageable. I wasn't about to cut the bulb off, so I just glued it back into place. I realized I glued it a little bit too far to the left, so before the glue dried, I nudged my whole entire poppy over a little bit to the right, and then just adhered that sad little bulb back onto my panel. And then there's the next part with my sentiments. I couldn't decide between 3 sentiments, and I knew I wanted this to be a Christmas card. Quick side note, I added some shading behind the poppy because red on red, and I just really wanted that poppy to stand out a little bit more, but not too much. So I just shaded it in, shaded the background a little bit with N2, and then wiped off my marker on some clean paper to show that it's perfectly fine after coloring on Distress ink. So I was torn between a few stamp sets, and I wasn't sure which one I wanted to go with or which sentiments I wanted to do. So here's my process for how I pick which sentiment to use. I grab a scrap piece of paper and I just casually stamp my sentiments, and then I cut them out. That way I can have a visual of how the sentiment will look against the card panel. Ultimately, I decided to go with a clearly besotted sentiment stamp set, and it says, "With love, Merry Christmas." And I just loved that sentiment. It was nice and warm. It was two different sentiments, so it gave it a little bit of extra something. I don't know, gave it a little extra something. And I decided to heat emboss that with gold. I could have gone with red, and after I heat embossed it with gold, I do like the way the gold looks, but I really wanted to know what it would look like with red and just a little touch of gold. But, I mean, all in all, I'm kind of proud of this card. So I used some Versamark ink. Weird pause. I used some Versamark ink to stamp it down, stamp the sentiments down before heat embossing. And after I heat embossed, that's pretty much it, and the card is finished. So thank you so much for joining me on my first ever card series. Day one of my, I think this is going to be a 12 days of Christmas. I don't know. How do we feel? 12 days of Christmas. And I'll see you back for another card. If you are not already subscribed, please remember to subscribe to my channel so you never miss an update. And follow me on Instagram while you're at it. I'm also Scraps and Ink there as well. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out when creating content. See ya!